An error occurred on LinkedIn. This is usually temporary. Wait a moment. Try again. Hold on. What's going on LinkedIn?
Technology's been our friend today.
Yeah, it's been... Okay, so we're live everywhere but LinkedIn. We'll just wait a few minutes for LinkedIn. I'm not sure why it's not going live on LinkedIn. Okay, we'll give it a second here just to warm up and get on all these different platforms. So we are going live today in our Facebook group, Sales Revolution. Got about, 28,300 some of you guys following us around in that group. Going live in our Facebook business page. I think there's about 67,000 of you guys over there. YouTube channel going live on there. Just got verified on YouTube. Thank you, YouTube. YouTube only took us 2 days to get verified. We've been trying to apply to get verified on IG for freaking 6 months. It's freaking crazy. And we're also going live on my personal Facebook. Welcome, friends and family. We're also going live on LinkedIn here. It's not, oh, there we are. We're live on LinkedIn as well. All right. So today we're going to break down the sales process of one of our clients. So every freaking week after week after week after week for the last 2 years. So it's about 150 clients. Sometimes we'll interview 2 clients in a week. We bring out a client from a new industry that went from basically wherever they were to all the way up here. All right. And we're going to break down their sales process and we're going to drop some golden nuggets. We're actually going to drop some bombs for you guys. We're going to go over some different questions we've taught this client. Zach, how do you pronounce your last name? Is it Hing? I don't know how to pronounce your last name.
Yeah, Hing rhymes with king, but just with an H.
All right. So Zach rhymes with King. It's Hing. So Zach King, who actually lives, I think you only live like 30 miles here from the office. You're over in Mesa, Arizona, right? The east side of Phoenix. Okay.
Yep,
so
correct.
We are corporate officer here in North Scottsdale, Arizona. It's probably good. I'd say it'd probably take me about 35 minutes to get to your house right now. I'm coming over right after, man. We're going to celebrate. So we're going to break down your sales process today. We're going to have you drop some bombs to some of these people, okay, in various different industries. Now, if you guys are brand new to the Facebook group, you've never seen me before go live in here, maybe you're brand new on LinkedIn, you're following me around, you're brand new on our YouTube channel, or maybe you're one of my friends and family on my own Facebook. I don't know who you are. If you're brand new, my name's Jeremy Miner. I'm the chairman and founder of 7th Level, okay? So we are a sales training organization that trains salespeople exactly like you watching me here right now, okay? So we train sales people like you. We train sales management like you. We train sales executives like you. We train coaches, consultants, entrepreneurs, C-level execs, business owners, and we help you and your teams just like we've done with Zach and thousands of others, transform the way you sell by learning specific skilled questions and techniques that actually work with human behavior. That might be important rather than work against it. There's a massive difference in that we have to understand if we want to sell a lot, okay? Those are called neuro-emotional persuasion questions. Now, we have to teach you the right tonality, the right delivery of the questions, like Zach knows, okay, that triggers the prospect to want to open up to you, to actually want to engage with you and go below the surface. Because we know if your prospects stay surface level with you throughout your entire sales process, what are they more than likely going to say at the end? I need to think it over. I need to keep looking around. I need to get more quotes. I need to talk with my spouse. We need to have more meetings with the board, and on and on and on. And then you go into chase mode. We don't want you to have to do that because it's not very fun not to sell that much. Is it more fun to make a lot more money in sales, Zach?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Definitely changes the lifestyle for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're on the live right now, I want you to grab your phone here real quick. So if you're on the live right now, I want you to go post #live. So if you're on live right now, go post #live. And if you're on the replay, I want you to go post #replay. Somebody said, Jeremy Miner, awesome job in Denver. I can't see you. It just says Facebook user, but thank you very much for saying that. All right. So if you're on the live right now, go post #live. If you're on the replay, actually, I can see your names on my phone. If you're on the replay, post #replay. Roddy, thank you. Roddy Jessup, thank you very much. Andrea, nice to have you on. Aaron, Jean, Crystal, Donnie, Sarah, Jeremy Miner. So go post #live. If you're on the live, go post #replay. Now, I also want you to go smash the heart button. I am not going to have Zach spill the beans here to help you sell more without seeing hundreds of smashed hearts and hundreds of smashed likes. I'm just not going to do it. In fact, I'm going to go play golf right after this. So go smash the heart button, smash the like button. Okay. We do that Somebody dropped a meme in there. I love it. Meme time, Aaron. So we do that so more people in the group can see this live and helps more people sell. All right, Zach, nobody cares about me. They selfishly only care about themselves. All right, so Zach, congratulations. Welcome on here. We have a lot of people clamoring to get interviewed here in the Facebook group that do really well. But we have certain requirements, like you have to make X amount of dollars after going through the training. You qualify for that. So we wanted to interview you. Tell everybody, what industry do you work in now? What do you actually sell? Spill the beans.
Yeah, thanks for having me on here, Jeremy. So I am in the high ticket online sales space, which
Okay.
a lot of people here watching are probably in there as well. I was selling real estate investment coaching, biz op coaching for a long time while I was going through NEPQ and working closely with you, Matt and Marco. I was primarily doing biz op and real estate investment coaching, but now more recently in the last couple of months, it's actually been e-commerce. So
Okay, so you sell people. So with e-commerce, let me get this straight. So you probably have people that respond to the ads that are in one or two situations. They either have an existing e-commerce business, but they don't have the skill level to be able to scale it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Probably some of your prospects. And then you probably have other prospects that maybe have a 9-to-5 job and they want to start a business where they can make more money and have more time. And they look at e-commerce as kind of like the avenue to get them there. Would I be right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So a little bit of questioning depending on the prospect that's actually on Zoom with you or on the phone with you, wherever you're at. Now, how long have you been in sales? Like, when did you first start getting into sales? Let's just walk everybody back.
Yeah, that's a great question. So my first sales job ever was, I think I was just like a week out of college, and I was tasked to actually go up to people in stores and sell them internet packages. I was also doing that a little bit door to door. So there were two different ways you could correspond with people, either walking up to them in the store, like a Costco or whatnot, or going and knocking on their doors. So that was back in 2016.
Okay.
Long story short, it was really scary and miserable because, I had no training, didn't really have the right environment in place to develop the skills that I needed. So I left that for a while and went and did human resources and organizational development ops for a couple of years, and then fell back into sales about 4 years
So
ago.
what got you back into sales? I have to ask.
Yeah, that's a whole nother story in itself, but just to kind of keep it brief, I fell into it by accident. A friend of mine was already in the online high ticket space. Now, most people aren't really aware of it. I know it's huge, but if you've never opted
in, high ticket space is a big industry for sure, but sometimes somebody might not be, familiar with it for sure.
Absolutely. So I bought a course because he actually, was telling me a little bit more about, hey, you can work from home and financial freedom. How most people find their way into it when you're a weekend warrior or a 9-to-5. Same thing happened to me. I was like, look, I want to learn how to start a business or an SMMA or learn how to do some kind of inbound remote sales. That was close to 4 years ago. And once I realized there was this industry that you could get paid on commission to.
Okay, so you started selling like real estate coaching. So you worked for a company that basically taught people how to invest in real estate, buy properties, flip properties, wholesale.
Mm-hmm.
How did you sell before you started learning NEPQ?
Before that, I was given a script. I think it was Neil Rackham, the typical spin selling, consultative sale. I think that was a big influence. Yeah, which isn't horrible. I mean, it worked at one point. And largely just a process where you're trying to ask questions like, hey, why are you a good fit for us? Or why should we consider you? And some of that stuff without question does work. But like you talk about, it triggers a lot of sales resistance. So I was typically just doing that.
It'll get you to a certain income level.
Yeah.
It's not going to get you anything higher. So I think I think you mentioned before we got on here, it got you up to like $6,000 to $8,000 a month, which is not bad. 70 to 100 grand a month. A lot of people are like, wow, that's a really good income. So what caused you, once you're making $6,000 to $8,000 a month, to realize like, hey, I need to learn more advanced skills. Like, I want to double, triple, quadruple what I'm making. What went through Zach's mind to like want to learn more advanced skills? Because a lot of people are like, man, I make $7,000 or $8,000 a month. I'm good. I'm happy. That's all I need.
Yeah, excellent question. It's a twofold approach. For one thing, you wonder what other people in your industry are doing to be making that. It wasn't long before I saw a lot of my colleagues and friends, raving about your material and having taken your mentorship. And so that was kind of the first thing. But I think the first part of that was more like, okay, well, people are breaking 20, 30, 40, 50K a month.
Yeah.
And so
Why can't I?
Right. Why can't I? I mean, certainly these people are no more smarter or more capable than I am
Sure.
at the end of the day. So
Yeah.
they've got to be doing something.
Yeah.
And so that kind of started the rabbit hole of, all right, well, where are they learning from? Like it's not the offer, because clearly it can't be. If they're doing the same thing I'm doing, it's not.
If they're making 35 grand a month and I'm only making 7 and we sell the same thing, same leads, what's the difference? Yeah.
Yeah. So that was kind of like a big thing. And yeah, it just kind of prompted me to kind of seek out more training. My camera's kind of
Okay.
let me fix that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're better focused now. Okay. So you knew somebody that was selling in your company, making a ton of money. I think his name was Tyshawn, because I interviewed him in the group maybe a year ago. Something.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't selling on the same offer as he was when he was then, but I had worked with him before in the past.
Oh, I see.
And yeah, I was, and Facebook, I saw his post and I'm like, this is great. And then other colleagues and friends joined the Inner Circle, the advanced program. And it was just a matter of time before I was going to enroll.
You're like, dude, okay, I got to get in this. Okay, so let's talk about it. So you get into our advanced Inner Circle program. You're going through the portals. You're in the group trainings with myself, Matt, Marco, our sales trainers each week. What was a few big things you started learning that really took you from here to now making these huge commits in a month? I mean, you're making 4 times more than what you used to make.
Yeah, excellent question. This is actually probably an unconventional approach, but the information was overwhelming.
Yeah.
I got to say that when I came into it, and I had taken 2.0 in the beginning for a few months before joining Advanced Inner Circle, the biggest immediate things were the reframes, the hooks, the analogies that Marco's really good at.
Yeah.
But I think big things as well, which was how to create urgency in a non-invasive way. And that was really all I needed. I think some of your staff can testify that I was on some of those calls, but I actually benefited more from the archive recordings, not just because of my schedule, but because if I'm taking in too many things at once, it was going to overwhelm me. And then I didn't want to reinvent a whole sales process and then crash, right?
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
But to answer your question, the hooks, the analogies, because I think when you talk about how it's about people wanting to persuade themselves, well, it's getting them out of their own way.
So it's helping them overcome their way of thinking that's allowed the problem to keep happening. And that's in any industry. Okay. We train 158 industries. Forbes says there's 158 industries. We're in all of them at this point. There's subsets of each. Every single industry, every product or service that's ever been made and will ever be made are to solve a problem and or an emotional need or both, right? So your problem you solve is you help people start a business where they can make more money and have more time. It just so happens that it's in the e-commerce industry, building out stores, right? Before you were doing real estate. It's the same type of vehicle, a little bit different. But the same is true in insurance or car sales or cybersecurity to banks or medical device. It doesn't matter, right? So let's talk about connecting questions. So before NEPQ, what were you saying to try to connect to a prospect on a call? I have to know.
I think you've probably heard this a million times, but hey, we got 45 minutes for this call. I'm going to ask you a few questions just to see if you're a good fit. And then based on that, we'll make a determining factor whether or not we want to bring you on board.
And I think that sounds good to most of those people. Yeah, this makes sense. But what does that trigger in most prospects' brains?
Well, sales resistance, because they're smarter than they ever have been. So
it's not like they're like, well, it's not like they're thinking like, oh, if I give this person my credit card at the end, he's just going to turn it down. Like nobody thinks that. They all know that's a bunch of BS. Like if I whip out my credit card after 45 minutes, like here's for the 50 grand. You're not a good fit. I'm sorry.
Right. You're not going to say no to that.
Turn you down. Like nobody's dumb enough to believe that. And I don't know why companies and sales trainers keep teaching that. That came out about 30 or 40 years ago. And I think it worked a little bit better than boiler room selling, but I don't think they realized people caught on pretty quickly. So, so triggering sales resistance the whole time. And when we trigger sales resistance from the beginning, as everybody knows, your prospects do what? They emotionally shut down. And they never go below the surface. And then at the end, where you're trying to pigeonhole into yes or no, they still say, I want to think it over. I need more time. My credit card's not here. I'll call you back tonight. And then they ghost you, right? Okay.
Right.
So you started learning connecting questions. What's a good connecting question that you learn from Advanced Inner Circle? And then how do your prospects react to that? Let's give some people some knowledge bombs here.
Yeah. Well, context with the intent of the prospect. So I would say things like, hey, George or so and so, I was just curious, what was it about the blank book, ad, workshop, whatever it may be, that attracted your attention?
Yeah.
So instead of kind of saying you're a good fit or a bad fit, it was more like, well, what brought you here in the beginning? What are you looking to get out of this call without it sounding overly salesy? So I was just curious.
You're taking the focus off you and you put it on them. And if you still want to do a frame, because we teach a lot of frames in pretty much every industry, we have to neutralize the frame. So we would reword it instead of kind of what you were taught before. For your industry, you'd say something like this. Okay, yeah, and this call, it's pretty basic. It's really more for us to kind of find out more about kind of what you're doing, to really scale your business now, your stores, like marketing wise, what you're actually doing compared to where you're wanting to be, just so we can kind of see what that gap looks like, to make sure we can actually help. And then, towards the end of the call, we can go over some different options if you want. And if you feel, that it might be what you're looking for, we can discuss possible next steps. Would that help you?
Yeah.
See, I'm framing it, but I'm neutralizing the words that it might be what you're looking for. We can discuss possible next steps. Nobody's going to say, no, we can't discuss possible next steps.
Right.
Nobody would do that because you've neutralized it. Now, if you said, now at the end of the call, if you feel like this, you're ready to sign up, we can talk about how you can send in the money. See, that's too assumptive. That's going to trigger sales distance. But I can just change some of the wording and get the result I want, where they don't feel any sales resistance, but they know towards the end of the call that if it fits into what they're looking for. Notice I'm not saying if you're a good fit for us, because nobody believes that.
Right.
I'm saying if it fits into what you're looking for, that it might be what you're looking for, we can discuss possible next steps. So we do that. Perfect. All right, good. You learn something new every day. All right, now let's go into situation questions. So you then started learning, and there's about, in every industry, there's about 4 connecting questions we're going to ask for sure. We have to tweak those depending on the industry, which we teach you guys how to do all that in our virtual training courses and our group trainings. Now, situation questions, because you have to, not only do you have to find out their situation, but more importantly, who do you have to get them to find out their situation? Themselves, right?
Themselves, right.
Most of your prospects don't even realize what their real situation is when they get on the call. What's a good situation question? I'll just have you give them one. What's a good situation question you ask now?
What are you doing now?
Yeah.
And insert context of what they're doing, right? Whether it's for business, for work. Yeah. What are you doing now?
Yeah. So let's say, because with your prospects, it's either somebody that already has an existing e-commerce business that they need to scale. They just don't know how. Or somebody that's not even in e-commerce, but they want to get out of their job and they're looking at starting a business in e-commerce and they need the skills to do that, right? So let's say if they're a prospect that is not an e-commerce, but they want to start an e-commerce business, you need to find out what they're currently doing now. So it's like, okay, what do you do for work now? What do you do for a living?
Right.
That would be your first situation question, because you need to help them find out where they're at. Now, there's obviously more situation questions you ask after that, but we don't have time to go through all that. Problem awareness questions. What did you used to do in the past to help them find maybe problems they didn't know? How did you try to do that?
It was a way of just kind of assuming, right, based on what they would say, that was the problem. They would say like, oh, I make this much. And then you go, okay, well, is that where are you happy about that and whatnot? And those were ways that we would do discoveries or probes. Whereas with problem awareness, it was questions like, okay, well, what's the biggest challenge? What would you change about your current situation if you could? Because it's neutral. I'm not assuming that it's a problem until they verbally confess that it's a problem. So a problem awareness question we would ask, and that I always used regardless of whether it was a positive or a negative thing, was, well, what would you change, right? What do you like about it? And if you could change something about your situation, why change that? And then it would compel them to.
Yeah. So when you neutralize those questions, your prospects feel what? They feel comfortable in telling you the truth instead of holding it back. Right. That's a massive difference. Like, people are not just going to open up to like emotional questions in the beginning without you asking some easier to answer questions that get them to open up more. Like you can't just go in and be like, oh, what's 2 problems that keep you awake at night, John? Like nobody's going to open up with that, right? It's too intrusive in the beginning. But if my first problem awareness questions with what you're doing, let's say that they're in e-commerce and they already have an existing business, and let's say that they're doing 100,000 a month in sales, but they're only profiting 10 grand a month. Well, that's not that much profit for that business, especially if maybe they have some staff and stuff like that. And we find out kind of what they're doing with their marketing or whatever, their lead generation or marketing. We can simply ask them, so you've been marketing using this agency you're with the last 3 years. Do you like the results you've been getting? See how we structure that question? Now they're either going to say, yes, I do, or no, I don't, or they're going to be like, well, we do, but, and they hem and haw. Depending on what they say there, depends on what we ask next, which we teach everybody that in the courses. Okay, now, because there's obviously more problem awareness questions you have to ask. Solution awareness questions. So what's a good solution awareness question we've taught you how to ask? And what does it do psychologically to the prospect?
Yeah, you solving this problem, how would things be different than it is now for you? And then to follow up with that, what's ultimately prevented you in the past from changing your situation or making a change? Those were a couple of really powerful ones that also hinted at consequence, which I know we'll cover. But
why were those so powerful to your prospects? Because I'm assuming, because you're kind of you're generalizing that question, like you solving this problem, because you want to plug in the actual problem, right?
Right.
So I want to make sure everybody understands. He doesn't mean like just saying you solving the problem. You're plugging in what that problem is, depending on what you sell. So what would be a big problem for the people you're talking to?
Not making enough money, having some hurdles when it comes to scaling their businesses, really just the lack of information and the lack of structure that's going to get them to their goals. All the basic stuff.
So let's say that we're able to come in, we're able to do X, Y, and Z, and help you get, your stores up to, like you'd mentioned, 300,000 profit a year. Because now you're talking about, quadrupling your profit margins. What would you do with the extra cash flow coming in? See, that gets them to think about what their future is going to look like once all these newfound problems are actually solved. Now, that would be an example if they already had an existing e-commerce business that they're trying to scale, obviously. Now there's other very important solution awareness questions you have to learn how to ask. It's not just one. We don't have time to go into that, but consequence questions. Now that we've gotten them to see what the future is going to look like, once all these newfound problems are solved, that your questioning skills have allowed them to see that they didn't know before they got on the call with you. What does consequence questions do for them?
It gets them from a big picture perspective, the cost of inaction. Because a question that I would ask, and of course it's phrased in context, like, well, what would happen if you didn't do anything about this problem and your situation gets worse? How would that ultimately make you feel? And is that ultimately something that you're willing to settle for, right? So it was basically the effect that it would have would be a non-pushy way of getting people to see what would happen, creating urgency in the process, but the cost of inaction being greater than the cost of taking action.
That was so something like this. And you say it in a concerned tone with empathy, right? And I know you're not role playing here. You're just kind of summarizing. But but Barbara, what happens if you don't do anything about this? You just stay in the same job, same income for the next 5, 10, 15 plus years. And what happens then? Oh my gosh, there's no way I could see. We're getting her or him to realize the ramifications and the consequences if they don't do anything about solving their problems. Now, we say that in a challenging yet concern for them tone.
Right.
When we say it in a concern for you tone, that triggers what in their brain?
More sales resistance.
No,
or, I mean, if you did it wrong, it would. But if you did it right, it would.
Yeah, when we're saying it like we're concerned for you if you don't do anything about this.
Oh
like,
yeah, trust, comfort.
Trust. Yeah, I'm like,
Right.
what are you doing? Yeah, so we're building trust in their mind, okay? Because they feel that we really care about them getting what they just said they wanted. Okay, so we're doing it in a concerned yet challenging tone. Very important. See, we can teach you the best questions on planet Earth, which we do in our virtual training courses, as you can attest to in our group training. But the most important thing is we're teaching you how to ask the questions, the verbal pausing, the tone, when to actually have empathy, when to be more challenging. Because if we don't understand that, we lose sales that people like Zach make every single day. Like it's easy. All right. We won't talk about the presentation. We don't have time to go into that. How did you used to try to close sales before NEPQ? I have to know. I always have to ask this question. How did you used to try to close?
Assume it.
What would you do? What would you say?
Well, I'd say I would basically tie them down with some commitments. It's like, okay, does this sound good? Or your goals okay? Why don't we get you rocking and rolling with this? That would be the spiel, 30 seconds.
Why don't we get you rocking and rolling? I love it.
I'm not joking. That is verbatim what I would say. Like, it's almost like I'm going to diffuse what we just went through in the price, and I'm just going to try to get your card as quickly as possible and do this as painlessly. And we'd all hold our breaths. I'm not joking.
Like, I hope they don't have an infection.
Yeah. But you ask any salesperson that's what they do. It's like you're hoping at that point that you're going to get.
See, that's the hopium drug. I did a keynote for a company called Quility that we trains, a huge insurance company in Denver on Friday. There's like 5,000 some agents there. It was awesome, but they're a great company. But we talked about the hopium drug. Yeah. That most salespeople in most industries hope and pray that something they say or something in the slide that they show in the presentation is magically going to trigger the prospect to want to buy from them. And that's taking the hopium drug, where you hope and pray. Folks, if you want to make a ton of money as a sales professional, if you want to make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in commissions, like our clients are, who sell exactly in the same industry that everybody is watching me right now in, they're making 3, 4, 5 times more than you are. You got to get off drugs. You got to stop taking the hopium drug. You have to learn how to work with human behavior, because I hate to tell everybody, Zach, you know this, with the recession looming over us, we all know it's coming. Obviously, the government is always going to say there's nothing wrong until the very last second. You remember, Zach, were you around in like 2008, 2009, or were you still in diapers?
I was around, but not old enough to vote.
But I'm not talking about voting. I care less about that. But I just remember the government in the crash of 2008 and 2009, because all the parties are the same, pretty much, some few differences, but they're all the same at the end. So they'd come out like, oh, nothing's wrong. Buy the dip, nothing's wrong. There's no recession. And then the next day there's a new conference. Armageddon, the sky's falling off. We have to $3 trillion. The banking system's over. Well, 24 hours before they said everything was fine. What's going on? So if everybody thinks that nothing is going to happen in the next 6 months, 3 months, and that you're going to hope and pray your favorite politician is going to miraculously bail you out, that is hopium. And you have no control. You have zero control over what's about to happen. Okay. Because when the recession happened in 2008 and 2009, I hate to tell everybody, guess what happens to your prospects? They hold on to their money even more.
Right.
Some of the laydown sales you guys are getting right now will not exist in 2 to 3 months from now. I can pretty much guarantee you that. Okay. So your laydowns are going to dry up by about 70 to 80%. Your prospects are going to have more objections, more fear, more skepticism, because they have less money to lose if what you say when they buy doesn't happen. So if we don't learn advanced skills, guess what's going to happen to your income? You might be making this right now, but if you keep saying the same things you're doing right now and asking the same questions has gotten you here, everybody, guess what's going to happen when it becomes tougher to sell? Your income's going to go way down. Same thing in the company I sold for at that time. I was setting debt relief services to companies. Half the sales force got fired in the first 30 days.
Wow.
After everything crashed. And everybody else that remained, their incomes got chopped in half. My income almost doubled because I kept learning more advanced skills. Okay. So you guys start learning advanced skills like Zach's talking about. Guess who controls your destiny when the recession happens. You have complete control. You can do anything you want. If your company that you work for goes out of business, guess what? There's going to be 50 other companies trying to recruit you and will pay for your skill level because you outsell everybody else 5 to 1. When you have a skill level, you have many, many options. When you don't have a skill level, you don't hardly have any options. Zach, any last words of advice for anybody watching right now?
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of the people that are watching are probably sales reps like I was a year and a half ago that were on the fence about this. I'd recommend diving straight in. It's going to be a little bit uncomfortable at first. Sometimes as salespeople, we're a little too attached to our own way. And I think the biggest takeaway for me was just being able to kind of set that aside, learn something new, and then allow even elements of yourself, your old voice, to kind of come back on top. And then you've synthesized the information properly. And so it may be uncomfortable for anybody who is considering joining the Inner Circle program. I would recommend that you do it if you're somebody.
Well, I have to know. This is always the question we ask. Is your spouse happy that you learn those advanced skills?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think we she didn't digest her food the moment I made that payment that first week, but then it didn't take long. It was 2 to 4 weeks, which I know in the life of a sales rep is a long time, but now
So you were making 6 to 8 grand a month. Now you make 4 times that a month. You're talking 25 to 30,000 a month in commissions.
Mm-hmm.
Is your life any different?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Gives you more options possibly. Now, the great thing about Zach is you're still learning, right? You're not satisfied with just making 30 grand a month. You're learning skills to now get up to 40 and 50 grand a month, right? Which takes you to a whole new level. Everybody, hey, thanks for being on today. We will be going live tomorrow with a Q&A at 6 p.m. Eastern here in the Facebook group. So make sure you join the Facebook group. If you're on YouTube or LinkedIn, make sure you join the Facebook group. Usually at the Q&As, I only go live in the Facebook group for. So if you're on YouTube right now, we'll post a link to join the Facebook group. If you're on LinkedIn, my Facebook, we'll post a link to join the Facebook group. And look, if you want to be like Zach and start making your first 10 grand a month in commissions consistently with what you sell right now, okay? If you want to start making 15 grand a month consistently in your industry, 20 grand a month. If you're already at 20, well, what are you going to learn that's going to get you to 25, 30, or 40, or 50 grand a month in commissions in your industry right now? So if you want to make that type of income, like thousands of our clients are right now, who sell exactly what you are selling right now, that are totally kicking you in the butt, making 3 to 5 times more than every one of you watching me right now. Not because their hair's cool, not because they have really cool genes or they brush their teeth. It's just because they have more advanced skills than you. They acquired those skills, just like Zach acquired those skills. So you want to acquire those skills, I want you to message me directly right now. So message me directly right now. Unless you want to keep working the same amount of hours and keep at the same income. I'm okay with that too. We can keep all those skills to ourselves. We don't have to teach them all to you guys. Zach will gladly keep them. He's making a lot of money, right? He doesn't care. So if you want to learn those skills, message me directly right now. So if you're on LinkedIn, message me directly right now. If you're in the Facebook group, message me directly right now. If you're on my Facebook or the Facebook business page, message me directly right now. If you're on YouTube, you can't message me directly. Sorry, guys. We still love you. You got to post hashtag NEPQ if you're on YouTube, okay? Now, if you can't figure out how to message me because you're not a social media expert, because I'm not one, then in the comments section with whatever platform you're on, just post hashtag NEPQ. If you spell it wrong, we won't slap you, don't worry. And either myself or someone on my team that will say, I'm from 7th level, Jeremy Minor, will message you directly. You can even book a call with one of our team members that will go over the different training options that we have if you want to sell a lot more than you are, like Zach is. Zach, thanks for being on. It's a pleasure. And you're our neighbor, 35 miles away here from the office. You got to come and visit us. What's going on?
I need to do that. Yes.
You're holding back, dude. You need to come up here sometime.
Absolutely. I would love to do that. And thank you, Jeremy, for having me on the show. Thanks for that.
Dude, I love it, man. Hey, you got a great story. Congratulations. And I know that even 6 months from now, you'll be making more than you are now. just it takes a while to learn those advanced skills. So
Mhm.
it's an evolution of learning that you keep going on. Train to retain. Train something you did, or is training something that you do, as our good friend Bradley would say. All right, Zach, thanks. Stay out of the hot sun. I'm looking forward to the fall here in Scottsdale and Mesa because it's really
Amen. Yeah.
hot right now, right? Okay, guys, we'll see you tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern in the Facebook group. Thanks for being on, everybody. Thanks, Zach.